Hello, and thank you for joining us at xm.com. I'm Cristina Marujos. With me is Senior Investment Analyst Rafi Boyajian, and we'll be having a look at the week ahead. Now, the RBA cut rates this week as economic growth in Australia slowed to its lowest in over a decade. Now, we're expecting employment data coming up this week. What should we be expecting from this report, and how is it going to affect the Aussie?
We are expecting a slight drop in the unemployment rate in Australia for the month of May. We had seen in recent months the unemployment rate ticking higher. That was one of the factors that led to the RBA cutting interest rates. So if we do see a somewhat more positive jobs report next week, that could be slightly positive for the Australian dollar, but it's unlikely to significantly alter expectations that the RBA will be forced to cut rates possibly as much as twice later this year.
Moving into China now, we're expecting data out of the country this week as well. Now, what is the outlook for the Chinese economy, and how will that affect the Aussie?
Well, there were some hopes when in March we saw a bit of a rebound in growth, but since then it's appeared that the economy is once again struggling to sustain the growth momentum. So in particular next week, we're going to have plenty of data. Of course, we're going to have industrial output, retail sales, trade numbers, and inflation. But the bigger focus will be on the export numbers as well as the industrial output. So if you do see more worrying numbers coming up of China next week, that could possibly hurt market sentiment, and of course that would be negative as well for the Australian dollar, which is highly sensitive to Chinese developments.
Moving into Europe now, the Swiss National Bank is expected to hold its policy meeting, and of course it's notorious for making comments on the exchange rate. Now, given the rough weeks the euro has been having with the Swiss franc, should we be expecting the SNB to give any warning about the exchange rate?
Well, that is possible. The Swiss franc has risen considerably in recent weeks due to the risk of sentiment in the markets from the heightened trade tensions and other geopolitical tensions as well, and in particular against the euro, which of course majority of Swiss exports go to the European Union. So we could see slightly more strongly worded statement coming from the Swiss National Bank on the exchange rate, and perhaps a warning that the SNB could intervene if the franc doesn't depreciate soon.
It's going to be a busy week for data, considering the UK as well. Now, how is that data going to affect the pound, given the Brexit situation as well?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to have a number of important data coming out of the UK, monthly GDP, industrial output, trade, and the employment report as well. But we are expecting, although the UK economy has so far been fairly resilient in recent months, the past couple of months in particular, it does appear that the UK could be losing momentum. So those data that's going to be out for the month of April, if we do see weakness there, that could possibly hurt the pound a little bit and put doubt on Mark Carney's remarks this past week that the UK economy requires some limited rate hikes in the coming period.
Okay, let's cross the pond now into the U.S. So we're expecting inflation and retail sales data for May to be released amid the turmoil the country's in with trade wars with China and now Mexico. Do you feel that this data could help provide the dollar with some support, given the significant losses it faced this week?
Well, it certainly could. The recent data out of the US has been fairly mixed. We had some good data and some not so good data. So if we do see any positive surprises in the inflation and retail sales numbers, because we're going to have other data as well, those two will be the main highlights. That could help the dollar. Over the past week, we saw the dollar coming under considerable selling pressure from the expectation that the Fed could be cutting interest rates soon. On the other hand, if we do see any weakness in inflation in particular, that could lead to those losses being extended.
Looks like it's going to be a very busy week indeed. Rafi, thank you for joining me, and thank you for watching the Weekly Outlook here at xm.com.